Mr. Moore.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous material on H.R. 354.
Without objection.
I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. H.R. 354, the Law Enforcement Safety Act, or Reform, LEOSA. Reform Act allows qualified, active, and retired law enforcement officers to carry a concealed firearm in national parks, school zones, public transportation, and some federal facilities that are open to the public. LEOSA was initially signed into law by President George W. Bush in 2004 to exempt certain active and retired law enforcement officers from local and state prohibitions carrying of concealed firearms. In order to qualify under LEOSA, active enforcement officers must meet several important requirements. For example, they must be authorized to carry a firearm by their agency. They cannot be subject to disciplinary actions by the agency that could result in the loss of their police power. They must meet certain firearm qualifications, standards. They cannot be under the influence of alcohol or other intoxicating substances. They must not be prohibited by federal law from receiving a firearm. Retired law enforcement officers must also meet several requirements in order to qualify under LEOSA. For example, they must have separated from service in good standing and served as a law enforcement officer for an aggregate of 10 years or more. They also are required to meet certain firearm training standards and must not be prohibited by federal law from receiving a firearm. The LEOSA Reform Act will allow these officers to carry a concealed firearm in the same manner many citizens carry a firearm in their state. For example, the LEOSA Reform Act will allow law enforcement officers qualified under LEOSA to carry concealed firearms in national parks, federal facilities that are open to the public, on public transportation, and in school zones and in other areas. The bill also reduces the frequency that qualified retired law enforcement officers are required to obtain certain qualification standards. Many states allow state-licensed concealed carry permit holders to carry concealed firearms in gun-free zones or gun-free school zones and on public transportation in the state in which they are licensed. This bill affords certain law enforcement officers the same privilege. The legislation improves public safety. Our officers face greater dangers, and current restrictions hinder their ability to carry firearms. At a time when violent crimes continue to plague our nation, we must support our active and retired law enforcement officers and ensure that they are able to protect themselves and that others, no matter where they are in the United States. This legislation is supported by the Fraternal Order of Police, the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, the National Association of Police Organizations, the Major City Chiefs Association, the Major County Sheriffs of America, National Organizations of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and many others. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.